For today's video, we're talking about everyone's favorite, compression. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Nefertiti Gold, and as I said before, today we are talking about compression. But most importantly, we're going to be talking about the stock compressors that are available in Logic. The reason why I want to talk about the stock compressors is because as musicians, we are always on a budget. And I think it's important for us to understand what we already have at our disposal before we drop any money on new plugins. And if you are brand new to music and production and have no idea where to begin, I am now officially offering one-on-one beginner production lessons. Go ahead and shoot me an email and find out how you can start right away. But before we get into the video, I need you guys to do me a favor. Slap up that subscribe. Logic has 7 stock compressors in which 6 of them are modeled after real analog gear that easily go for thousands of dollars. We're going to get into these in just a moment, but before we do, I want to go over compression and what exactly it is and what happens when you use it. Now, the job of the compressor is to make things quieter. It reduces the distance between the loudest parts and the quietest parts of your tracks by catching the peaks and compressing them. Because the compressor is reducing the dynamic range between the highest and the lowest peaks, it'll actually give the effect as if the track got louder when you use it. This boost in loudness is actually perceived loudness and not actual loudness, which in turn is a form of psychoacoustics. Because this is perceived loudness, it creates the eventual headroom necessary to increase the actual loudness later on in your mixing process. Let's hop on over to the computer and take a look at these compressors and the gear that they're modeled after. So I have an empty project pulled up mainly because we'll just be discussing each compressor very briefly. So let's go ahead and pull up the compressors, go down to dynamic and just click on compressor. As I said before, Logic has 7 compressors in which 6 of them are modeled after real analog gear. And that's because the first compressor that we're going to look at is actually Logic's compressor, and it's called Platinum Digital. Platinum Digital is the cleanest out of all of them, and it has the least amount of harmonic coloration. This is a great all-around compressor. You can use it on drums, vocals, or guitar. Before we move on to the next compressor, let's take a look at some of these basic functions and talk about what they do. First is the threshold. The threshold is the volume at which compression starts. And then the attack is how quickly the compression starts once the signal passes the threshold. The release is how long it takes for the compressor to go back down to 0 once it's stopped compressing. And then the ratio determines the intensity of the compressor. The higher the ratio, the more aggressive the compressor is going to react. The knee determines how gently or how aggressively the signal slides into the compressor. A low knee will be more smooth, and a high knee, which is a hard knee, is going to be a little bit more obvious and more aggressive. I normally don't change the knee when I'm using the compressor, but now that you know what it is and how it works, go ahead and give it a try and experiment and see how it sounds on your tracks. And the makeup gain can be adjusted if you feel that after you've applied compression, your track either became too loud or too quiet. Now, of course, there are other functions that are happening here, but that'll be for a different video. And if you are interested in seeing that, let me know in the comments below. All right, moving on. The Studio VCA is modeled after the Focusrite Red 3 compressor. The Red 3 is known for retaining a really clear sound even when a significant amount of compression is applied. Now, the value of the analog gear for this is about $3,000 at the time of this recording. Next, we have the Studio FET. The Studio FET is modeled after the Blackface 1176. Now, the Blackface 1176 was originally released in 1976 and it was used as a limiter. Since then, it's been reproduced by Universal Audio and it's been used in some classic recordings of Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, and Michael Jackson. The cost of this hardware unit is about $2,400. The classic VCA is modeled after the DBX 160. The DBX 160 is a hard knee compressor that was originally released in 1976. Because it was a hard knee compressor, compressor, it was mainly used as a transient shaping effect. It would be applied to percussive sounds like the kick drums, snares, and sometimes bass. Now, from what I've seen online, the DBX 160 hardware ranges anywhere between $300 all the way up to $1,800. The vintage VCA is modeled after the SSL G bus compressor. I've personally used this compressor on my vocals because I really like the effect that it has on it, and I like the harmonics that it brings out. This one can also be used as a glue compressor in your mastering chain, and it'll give a unique characteristic to your overall track. You can find the hardware for this one online listed for about $3,500 and up. The vintage FET is modeled after the Blue Stripe 1176. The Blue Stripe 1176 is known for its lightning fast attack time and its aggressiveness. It's also known for having a bit of brightness and presence that adds energy. Out of all of the gear, this one is the most expensive one, with one listing pricing it at 14,200 doll hairs. Yeah. And lastly but not least, the vintage Opto. This compressor is modeled after the infamous Teletronics LA2A. The LA2A is known for a super smooth, natural compression, which sounds amazing on melodic vocals. The hardware for this one can be found online for $4,300 and up. And there you have it, 7 amazing compressors right at your fingertips. If you've enjoyed this video, you know the vibes, slap that subscribe. And if you did not like this video, go ahead and click that dislike button 2 times, and I will see you in the next video.